natural hairstylist. As Kathleen said, also founder of IMU 360, and also a hair care class called Your Hair is Your Crown. I just kind of wanted to share a fun fact about my maybe quotation of oops, hair shame. I also experienced, which was one day I caught myself wanting to have it super, super curly, and I decided to use those pink sponge rollers. Well, I tried to do it when it was wet. And when I woke up, I just knew I was going to be so, so fly. And that did not happen. As I said, this is a fun fact. And all I had was a poof ball. A bunch of fuzzy wuzzies. So we all have those oop moments with our hair, including myself, who has, played around with hair pretty much all my life. So I just kind of wanted to loosen up the room so that we could get comfortable in our own skin. And again, welcome to Rooted Conversation, Rooted Crowns in Conversation. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ashley LaRussa, founder Rue Events, as well as project lead on Black's Friday. It's an honor to be here this evening, and thank you, Desiree Cook, for just having a beautiful organization that supports our community in a number of ways. And I really appreciate you, Kathleen, for organizing all of this opportunity virtually this evening. So my quick hair experience. I can remember being in between my mother's knees and her greasing my scalp. Just the connection of someone taking the time after my scalp would be a little dry midweek and care to part each side and grease my scalp. Mm-hmm. So that's a very fond memory I have as a young girl. And again, thank you all for joining us this evening. Passing it to Dianna.
All right, thank you for passing me the mic. All right, so my name is Dianna Beckford, more often known in the community as Dianna, your fave stylist. And I am the owner here of Melvira's Hair Studio located in Tucson, Arizona. I specialize in natural hair, and I built my business and used natural hair as a foundation to build my business. And my first experience with natural hair was having natural hair myself, and being that, I had a kinkier texture of hair. It wasn't always combed properly because it's hard to deal with if you don't know how to do it. And I feel like, with my parents coming out of that era where it was either make it straight or braid it up, and we wasn't doing braids at the moment, it took a while for me to learn about my own hair. So with some younger experiences of embarrassing moments that I've had as a young girl, that birthed a love of natural hair for me. And so it took a team of aunties, cousins, and sisters and all of that, letting me practice on them. But I finally got it. And I love natural hair. I love educating about natural hair. I had the honor of working with Miss Desiree with her Your Hair is Your Crown program. And it really, really just warmed my heart to see how it really, really blessed the young girls and helped to build up their self-esteem. Something just as simple as teaching them about their cultural background and their hair. And I just thought to myself, if there was something like this around whenever I was young. So for that reason, I am very, very excited to be here today. And I thank you guys for having me. I'm not sure who I'm passing it to.
It'll be Kathryn. Kathryn.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm honored to be here tonight. I am, as I said, my name is Kathryn Jarva. I am a proud mother of a 6-year-old. Back there, you can see her leg. I'm also an adoptive mother, a licensed foster parent currently with no placements. I have also, for the past 13 years, have been working with Department of Child Safety as a kinship specialist, working with kinship families. And as a woman who has very thin, straight, blonde hair, I always wanted curls. Always wanted curls. But my mom never wanted me to get curls. Well, visiting my grandmother, she said, your hair is too straight. And despite my mom telling her, nope, you are not giving her a perm, absolutely not, she took this 8-9-year-old little girl to a salon and had the lady give me a perm, and it was horrific. Horrific. I had a burnt scalp. And for some reason, she thought Certs was going to solve it all. So she kept feeding me Certs, and that was going to make things all better. And it was a nightmare. It was horrible. So needless to say, I embraced my straight hair after that. And just never went there again. And also as an adoptive mother of an African-American and Hispanic little girl, I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to care for her hair. Just when I think I got it, nope, I don't. Something happens and, it's a new day and I'm starting all over again. But thanks to Desiree, I first met Desiree as a new foster parent, having no idea how to take care of a little girl's hair, let alone African-American hair. And I probably spent close to $200 on various products trying to figure out what was working. And then I met Desiree, and she taught me what to use on her hair and her skin, and never looked back after that. So again, thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to this conversation tonight.
Lexi?
Great. Yes, thank you. So, let's see. Are you able to see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So, my name is Lexi Andreopoulos. Currently, I'm a stay-at-home mother for my beautiful little 4-month-old baby boy. I am working on an up-and-coming photography business, which we've called A Captivating Life Photography. So we're in the works of that. But I'm blessed to be a part of this conversation today due to being invited by Desiree Cook. I've, in the recent past, volunteered with IMU 360. So I'm glad to say that I've been able to be a part of that, and hopefully I'm able to be more involved in the community, as my son gets older and things like that. But my anecdote with my hair as a young girl was I was in and out of foster care and group homes and things like that. So I remember one time being for a while in the foster care program, and I ended up being able to go home to my mother, but by then my hair was in dreads. They didn't really know how to take care of my hair, so it was like normal things like gel and wetting your hair and combing it, but it was a lot harder for me to do that, and so I wasn't able to get through to my hair. So over time I had like locks, and my go-to was just putting it in a ponytail, so I would be able to slick back the front part, and then after that the rest would just stay in a tangled bun or ponytail. So what ended up happening when I was returned to my mother, she my biological mother is white, and she didn't know how to like brush through my hair even on a good day sometimes. So at the state that it was in, she didn't know how to unlock the dreadlocks that I had grown, so she ended up just cutting all of my hair off. And I almost had like what was similar to a fade at the end of it. And it just looked so terrible because I obviously didn't feel comfortable in my own skin at that point. I would go to school and people would just make, like the kids in school would make fun of me for, you know, looking like a boy and having like a growing afro. And so I always remember that, you know, that left a really great impression on me. And growing up, I always made sure after that that I took care of my hair and took the time to brush through it. So as a young girl, I would talk to other maybe African-American kids that I saw at school and try to get their hair care tips. I could go home and work through mine. So that's why I'm glad to share my story and then hopefully be able to, you know, outreach in the community to advocate for, you know, parents knowing how to do their children's hair and not feeling insecure about it. So that's what I'm here for today. Thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it. I think I'm passing it on to
Mel.
Okay, I'm Melanie. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. I'm Melanie Span, also known under Braider's Corner. That is my business. I specialize in natural hair. I'm a master braider. I've also had the privilege over the past year or so to partner with Miss Desiree Cook on Your Hair is Your Crown. So that has been a wonderful experience. Thank you for inviting me on to that, as well as inviting me here to speak on this panel. Lately, I have also partnered with Avita Cosmetology Institute to teach braiding and teach African American hair techniques, products, tools, how to braid. So that is also a blessing because in the cosmetology community in Tucson, Arizona, they don't teach a lot on textured hair and biracial hair. So that is mainly what I do. My first hair memory, I can say, would be with my father. My mom does not do hair. She still to this day can't really do hair. So I will curl her hair for her at this time. But my father, all the way back to, I would say, second, third grade, my dad did my hair. We would have this whole process on Sunday, and it was wash at the sink, and it was conditioning, and it was blow drying, and it was hot comb, and then it was rollers. And then you go to bed with the roll stuck right here on the forehead. So in the morning, you try to rub that little mark out where that little piece was sitting there, real stern. But they're awesome memories. I credit my dad for my love and passion for doing hair. And I try to make sure every one of my clients, especially my kids, have great experiences when it's their first time coming to the hair salon, because I know like some young ladies on the panel, they've discussed some of their hair experiences were horrible. So if I have the privilege to make someone's first experience amazing and a good memory bank experience, then that's what I do. And that's Melanie.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Nikieia Johnson, and I am the Clubhouse Director for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Tucson Homes Tuttle Clubhouse. I also sit on the board for IMU 360, Desiree's nonprofit organization. And as you all can see, every single one of us on this call is connected to Desiree in our own way. She's absolutely amazing. You guys should definitely check out IMU 360's website to learn a little bit more about Your Hair is Your Crown and all the amazing services being offered. And my hair story, one of my earliest memories of hair is Easter Sunday Eve. sitting on a crate with the pillow on top, and my mom with the hot comb on the stove, pressing my hair, my sister's hair. I come from a really, really big family, so it was 9 girls and 5 boys in the house. And my mom was pressing everyone's hair. And so she would get a little short-tempered sometime. And so I remember, you know, crying because I'd be like, Mom, hold her hair, because she was a little bit heavy-handed and not as gentle with it. And I would be like super uncomfortable. So I'd be wiggling around a little bit. But then at the end, my hair would look like really, really nice. And I would be like still have, you know, patting my face with the tears, but smiling in the mirror because I loved the way my hair looked. And then, of course, wrapping it up at night. My mom didn't use rollers for our hair. She just would tie it down in the scarf and just kind of comb us down the next day, which is probably why to this day I tend to wear more of a wrap style, because it's also the style that I can maintain. Because I can barely give a straight part, you know, so I'm gonna do what I know best. And so I want to thank you all for joining us on tonight's call.
All right, I believe that is everyone introduced. Ashley?
Thank you, thank you. Well, I'm gonna go into a very short, about a 4 or 5 minute presentation on Black hair and the history of our rooted crowns. As I go into the screen share, I wanna say 2 things. Firstly, just a little bit more about why I'm presenting on this tonight, which is the love of Black hair. Just loving those crowns that are innately on top of our heads and passed down from our mothers. So a huge shout out to the ancestors. Also, a focus of mine is our history, our culture, and our resilience, and seeing that full circle come back around on how we see ourselves and our ancestors every day. So I have a question for you as I go into the screen share. I want you as participants and attendees to think about a time at what age you were when you first styled your own hair. So how old were you when you first decided to grab a mirror and some product and do something to your hair? And if you want to add on what that style was, wonderful. Please do that here in the chat if you're on Zoom, and if you're watching live on Facebook, please do add those comments in the section. So as I go into the screen share, think about how old you were when you first styled your hair. And you're thinking about how old you were, what decade. There was music playing in the background, you were excited. What tool did you have in your hand?
Brush.
Okay, wonderful. Starting the screen share now into the presentation. Again, this is going to be short, about a 4 or 5 minute presentation. Does everyone see their title screen, Black Hair, Rooted Crowns?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna keep my eye on the time as well. So firstly, thank you again for this time to present, Desiree. I really appreciate diving into the history of Black hair. So firstly, looking at this photo in front of you, this is 2050 BC, sarcophagus of Princess Kawit, portraying the princess having her hair done by a servant during breakfast. So wigs such as this were worn often, styled with braided pieces of human hair, wool, palm fibers, and other materials set on a thick skull cap. Often used in a place of headdresses, wigs symbolized one's rank and were essential to royal and wealthy Egyptians, for men and female alike. So let's start with some of our ancient origins. For centuries, Black communities around the world have created hairstyles that are uniquely their own. These hairstyles span all the way back to the ancient world and continue to weave their way through the social, political, and cultural conversations surrounding Black identity today. From box braids to locks, to afro to edge ups, many of these most iconic Black hairstyles can be found in drawings, engravings, hieroglyphics. And when the painted sandstone bust of the Egyptian Queen Nefertiti was rediscovered in 1913, her regal beauty, accentuated by a towering hairstyle, is undeniably the most iconic symbol of feminine power. So gonna go and show you a few photos here. Looking at the top left, you're seeing a side-by-side comparison between a Himba child and Ramses II as a child to show a cultural resemblance to the various African peoples that choose to shave their infant's head while still remaining a tuft of hair to the side. Bottom left, you're looking at ancient Egyptian depictions of Nubians wearing traditional hairstyles of status. Also bottom right, you're looking at those tools used to craft those hairstyles. Please note the fine picks that are used most traditionally with thick hair. And then looking over to the right, you're seeing throughout history, ancient Egyptians created tools that resemble hairstyles of today, predominantly in Northeast Africa. Hairstyles. The hairstyles that I'm gonna go through will all be pre-colonialism, starting with the Afro. In ancient times, Afro hair was celebrated and adorned just as much as it is today. Ancient Egypt gives us some clues as to how African hair was maintained. Due to the hot climate, ancient Egyptians were known to shave their hair. In their day-to-day endeavors, such as going to work or on social occasions, wigs were worn. You can see the photo here to the right with the afro on top and the straight on the back. Nothing new here. This has all been done before. Typically with these hairstyles are also adorned with gold amulets and hair jewels. Twisted locks have often been perceived as hairstyles associated with 20th century Jamaican and Rastafarian culture. But one of the earliest known recordings of this hairstyle can be found in Hindu scriptures. Noted twisted locks of hair was a hairstyle worn by prominent figures written over 20,000 years ago. Braids were used to signify marital status, age, religion, wealth, and rank within West African communities. Another hairstyle with rich African roots are Bantu knots, Zulu knots. These are universally translating as people among many African languages. If you think Black hairstyles are just hair, that's simply not the case. Ancient African civilizations used their hairstyles to indicate social status, like which tribe they belonged to, their religion, their age, their marital status. The beautiful and intricate hairstyles that originated from Africa have evolved through Afro-Caribbean and Black American cultures and are deeply rooted in the crowns of our heads. Here's a lovely quote. "For I am my mother's daughter, and the drums of Africa still beat in my heart." Thank you.
Wow. I am beyond moved
Amazing.
in my culture and in honoring my crown. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Queen.
Ashley.
Happy to.
And Kathleen, I think we're going to move into our next segue.
I believe so. Yes. Mhm. Yes, that is next on our agenda. Mhm. And who would
So we
like
wanna
to begin? Mhm. Go ahead, Queen.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
No, I was just asking who would like to begin that, and so whenever you're ready, or whoever would like to begin.
So I just want to piggyback off of what Ashley said. And as you could see, our roots run deep. And our hair has always been honored as our crown. And that's why it's so important to become engaged and as knowledgeable as possible to help honor the crown for those children that we take care of and responsible for, whether you're a bio parent, a grandparent, foster care. We are truly encouraging you not only to dig deep, but ask the question, and whatever those questions are. And so there's no question that would be too silly to ask, but culture of your child that you're caring for is so necessary. So I just wanted to really start the conversation there.
Does anyone have questions so far? No. I'll make a quick comment as it relates to our hair being our crown and the impact of hair. You know, the question that Ashley asked us was, when was the first time you remember, you know, styling your own hair? What type of products did you use? You know, was there music playing, right? And all of that, I'm sure as you got to thinking about it, maybe there was a moment that brought a smile to your face, or maybe you kind of smiled and it was like, oh, actually, I hated that style a little bit. Like, that did not work out for me, right? And so I think everybody can say that we've all experimented with our own hair at some phase or another, you know, male and female. I remember when my brothers were younger, like they didn't have hair that they could really twist and curl because they used to get their hair cut. And so they were so curious about haircuts that they decided to give each other a haircut, and literally like had squares, circles, triangles in each other's hair, walking around the house, you know, with the hands on the head like this, and super embarrassed. And my mom trying to figure out, like, you have to go to school tomorrow and you literally have triangles at the top of your hair. There's nothing I can do to hide this. I just gotta, you know, just shave it all off because there's nothing else I can do to prevent them from being bullied, right? And so early on, I think that our experiences with hair influence how we engage with our hair throughout childhood, throughout teenagehood, throughout adulthood, and even the people who are taking care of our hair, right? You know, Mel spoke early on about the impact that her dad had on her, and the you know, just the great environment that he created with her in doing her hair every single Sunday, which led her into the field she's in now. And so hair and the hair care routine can really be used as an opportunity to bond with your children or bond with your nieces or your nephews or whoever's hair you're doing. You know, that is an opportunity, but particularly for young people, you know, you don't want it to be a time of causing trauma to them. You don't want it to be a time where it's just negativity, where you're dreading it, they're dreading it. You know, the hair care moment, the routine can really be an opportunity to have some conversation, to dig a little deep on, well, how was your day? And really, because you have them sitting still, they can't hit you with the, it was fine, because they're going to be there for 15 minutes or more, right? So you get an opportunity to really dig deep with that. So really, I just want to emphasize that, you know, when we're doing hair and styling hair, that can really create an opportunity to bridge the gap in parent-child relationships and create some really amazing and unique bonds.
And in addition to that, hair shaming is real, just like body shaming.
Yes,
and so when we use negative overtones as the hair, your hair is nappy and everything, you know, about that child, your skin is so dry, that is a lifetime scar. And so we have to have the ability to use positive affirmation. And as Nikieia was saying, and even Ashley and Mel, when she was saying about it was a good experience with her father, which you really don't hear a lot of men interacting with their children's hair, but using that time as with excitement, and kids could pick up on that energy. And then when you're speaking life to them, but not only speaking life to your child that you're caring for, but it also will boomerang back to you and empower you. So everybody wins when you have that opportunity to engage in your child and ask questions and use that as mother-daughter or father-daughter or father-son, however you want to put it. We definitely want to use positive affirmation and never, never, never use the word nappy.
And
I'd
we
love
have
just
Jenna
to add
has
on.
a quick
Go ahead,
question.
Sally.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, Jenna has a quick question that I wanted to read off in case anyone wants to answer it. She said, I adopted my son and I have no clue how to care for his hair or skin. I adopted him 14 years ago and really need help with what products to use and how often to have him wash it. He has joined to learn as well. So thank you, Jenna, for joining.
Go ahead, Dianna.
I was going to say, I was going to talk about how she showed the cultural background and how it goes to show that our hair adornment is literally ingrained within our DNA. So when there's a disappointment or we feel like we're lacking when it comes to our hair and our skin and all of that thing, like you can really feel the disappointment in your soul. And I want to commend all of the parents for coming on, because I feel as though our hair was designed by God for it to be a social thing. Like our hair was not meant to do by yourself. All of us know, because it takes a longer amount of time. It's not enjoyable, but by nature, we naturally call our sister or our cousin, our brother, or somebody over to help us loosen our braids and help us put them in. And so I think it's great that we're focusing on the bonding. Should I answer the question for Miss Jenna with her son, or?
Can't you? So I'll reread it. Just they're really looking to learn some additional information. She adopted her son 14 years ago, and wants to learn a little bit more how to care for his hair and skin, because she just doesn't know how often to have him wash it. And so if you want to maybe make a comment about that.
So I feel like if his hair is kept short and he's wearing it like in a short haircut, I feel as though he can wash it as often as he wants to. And I tell my clients that you are with your hair more than I'm with it. So I tell them starting off to moisturize their hair, you know, maybe twice a week, because 3 or 4 times a week could be plenty for one person, but not enough for the next person. So I always tell them to start off with like 2 to 3 times a week. And then you should be able to pay attention to this. And if you need more, it's okay to use more, you know. And as far as what product to use, a lot of times it is determined by what texture his hair is and what you want his hair to do after you put the product in it. If you want it to curl up, you would put something more hydrating in it, because his hair is going to respond to the water in that product and it's going to curl up. If you want the curls to last, it'll have some type of holding agent in that product. If you're looking for it to be spiky, or you're just looking for it to look shiny, because oftentimes we use hair greases that just give the hair the illusion of being shiny, because our hair doesn't necessarily reflect light all the time, because light, you know, shine is just simply the reflection of light off of a flat surface. So because we don't have that flat, smooth surface, we put things on it to make it look shiny so that the light kind of reflects off of it. But how often really depends on his hair texture and, you know, the porosity of his hair. But I would think that he would start off maybe 2 to 3 times a week. And you can wash it as often as you like. The shorter it is, the longer it is, that's when it kind of gets confusing with shampooing it, because if you're going to be corn rolling it, or you have locks, or you have a hairstyle that you're trying to maintain. I think that sometimes that can make it confusing when it comes to shampooing.
Thanks, Dee. I think that leads into segues right into the conversation even a little bit more about the, general hair care and maintenance piece of hair as well.
And so I do want to just add in there too that children should never look like their circumstance.
Yes.
If we have a child that is in foster care or kinship, that child should never look as if their situation. And so I really feel that we have to be more as a community, individually and collectively, and more invested in our African American and blended children. Please keep in mind, African American and blended children do need more time when it comes to hair and skin. And so time management is very, very important in how we all are very busy. We know that many people have 9-to-5s. But you will have to use that time wisely where you're not rushed so that you become overwhelmed. Set that time aside so that the skin, if they're younger, you take the time to hydrate the skin with proper nutrients, as well as if they're a little bit older, please take the time to show them so that they can develop a healthy hygiene routine as they're preparing for their day. Our skin definitely during the winter months primarily need more hydration. And so it might take a cocoa butter lotion and a little bit of Vaseline or baby oil gel to actually seal in that hydration. So really important stuff. It does take time. And so we just want to really have you open your mind and being open-minded to investing in using that as a bonding and a learning tool as well. Miss Kathleen, you were going to say something?
Yes, I'm just reflecting with some regret. As I mentioned earlier to the panel, in our planning meetings, I was a former social worker where I placed children. And one of the saddest stories that I heard was when a foster parent, because they did not know what to do with the foster child's hair, or they didn't want to take the time to learn what to do with the foster child's hair, simply cut it all off. And I'm just wondering about people's thoughts about that, like any messages that any of the panelists might have for any foster parents that are watching this live stream right now, or will watch a recording of it, things for them to consider when they take in an African American child for their hair care and skin care.
Kathryn?
I stress, do not be afraid to ask. Do not be afraid to reach out. For the first couple of months of my first foster child, taking her in, now my daughter, like I said, I spent $150, $200 because I thought, oh, I could handle this. I'll figure it out. And I couldn't, because I just didn't know what to do. And I was afraid to ask because I thought as a new foster parent, I was supposed to know it all. And it took me a while to realize I had to learn and I had to reach out. And that's when I met Desiree, and I learned and I asked those questions. I even asked those questions to her now. I'll send a random email, and I wanted to try straightening her hair, and I still haven't done it because I'm scared to death. But, I asked those questions like, what do I What do I use? What kind of hair straightener would I get? You know, that type stuff. So just do not be afraid to ask, and reach out, please.
Also like to say that it also, for foster parents, it's great for you guys to ask, but there are many situations where there's a negative kind of stigmatism with a white woman and a black baby. We all know that there's not a lot of African Americans that adopt children. So I commend you for stepping out there and getting a baby outside of your ethnicity, because it's definitely needed. But I also feel as though there has, like what we're doing, there has to be more education in the community, so that when African American women see a woman like yourself with a black or a mixed baby, they're not turning their nose up, so that they can be more open to you. Because I've been in hair salons where I've seen hairstylists give a mother an attitude because they didn't know, or they're asking questions that the average black woman would know, and things like that. So I think that it's good that we're doing this, but the people in the community, so this goes out to the hairstylists and closed-minded people that are not open to those situations. I think that as a community, we definitely have to be more open-minded to crossing those racial barriers when it comes to the children.
Absolutely. And encouraging, no matter what ethnicity that you are, in caring for an African American or blended child, it is really mandatory that you encourage them to love the skin that they're in. Because they are going to see that you may be different. And so please, you know, all the myths that might, you know, come over in conversations regarding African American hair and skin, we ask that you leave that at the door and never bring that in unless it's an open dialogue for a teaching tool, but never using anything that you might have seen on, you know, social media that might have a negative overtone. It is really encouraging because, you know, our youth, our children are in a battle. Even more so now than ever before, and bullying and treating people less than is a real issue. And so we want to be able to plant a seed of confidence in our children, and it does start with appearance. Whether it be hair or skin, as well as culture. And so research is available, or having an open dialogue with someone that is African American really is humbling. But again, everyone wins, because whoever's sharing that information would feel good about themselves. And then you, as being the one wanting to learn, will also benefit. And then any information that you are learning, whether it be in this conversation or with a local hairstylist or whatever that may be, please don't be stingy with that information. Share. And that's how we grow as a community. Share. And that we can grow and become knowledgeable, because what will happen is more people that might be non-melanin will be more open to open their home and their heart for African American child, if they know that there is knowledge available and that there's someone there to help and guide them through this transition, to be held accountable to properly take care of hair and skin of African American children.
Absolutely. And I'll piggyback on that, especially if the child is a little bit older. It's great to ask questions and seek help outside of the home. But if they're old enough to kind of have an idea of what they know that their hair needs are, ask them, you know, what did you use before? Because they may have an idea, or they may be able to share with you, well, you know, I once tried this and this did not work for me, or I tried this and this did work for me. So being, again, able to create that dialogue and that open communication, again, it definitely is a win-win for everyone, because you're learning, they're learning, and that will definitely open up the door for trust to be created, because now they see that you are truly vested and truly interested and have their best interests at heart as well.
I'd love to contribute here. Just in the dialogue about what Desiree brought up earlier, terms and words mean so much. And so you heard her say not to say kinky. And again, I want to take a nod to our history and how that was used to discriminate and to disenfranchise predominantly beautiful Black women and their hair. So whenever you're hearing terms like kinky or woolly, we should explore other terms to use. So as you're going in for consultation to talk with these professionals about how to style hair, you can introduce that issue with the right terms out of love, rather than some of the terms you may have heard. One thing I'd also like to point again on the culture and history, and encouraging of knowing not only the technical things of what to do with hair, but the history of where we've come from. So you notice in the presentation, I only touched on pre-colonialism, just lightly looking at post-colonialism, emancipation, Jim Crow. You'll note that there's a certain sense of pride came from enslaved individuals who can now do and style their own hair. But within that came assimilation. Within that came, what is the concept of good hair? Is it not kinky? Is it not woolly? And so as you're going through this journey of hair, knowing that all hair is beautiful, and knowing that natural crowns are beautiful, as you're also educating yourself and your children in that pride. And to know there's no shame. So there is no shaming of any other sister's crown. She can wear it straight, she can wear it curly, she can wear it wrapped around her head into a tower. All of these styles are beautiful and have been done before. So I would just love to point out again the education behind that research and the why you don't chop all of your child's hair off, the why of knowing that trauma is still in the body from when our crowns were historically chopped from our heads. So just want to touch in on the history a bit, Queens.
Oh, I love it. And again, even with what Ashley was saying, royalty is running through African-American and blended children's blood. And so because of that, we want to honor our ancestors and take care of our crown. And that kind of goes into not only just getting the hair done, but the maintenance of our crown and ensuring that the hair is wrapped at night and hydrated correctly. And just kind of interject in there as well, for those babies that go swimming, for example, and love swimming. Nothing wrong with that as well. That is taboo, where they say, African-American children can't swim because of their hair and skin getting messed up. It is all well and good, but it is also a little extra care that has to be taken into consideration. And that is rinsing the chlorine out immediately once they're done swimming. And co-washing. And so these terms can always be Googled and looked up to be able to apply it into your daily life. But then also the extra hydrating, because chlorine does not only dry our hair, but it also dries our skin because of that melanin that is in our skin. So, we can live full lives. There's no restrictions at all when it comes to our African-American babies. There is a little bit more time that might have to be invested, but there's no difference at all. And as a matter of fact, our hair, as Ashley said, can do so many different things. And so don't be afraid to experiment, and not necessarily with chemical experimentation, but with different styles, and see if you could recreate that. Because you might have a gift, mom or dad, that is listening, have a gift and ability to actually do some amazing hairstyles, but you would never know unless you try.
I'd like to piggyback off of what Nikieia said earlier. I'm not a foster care parent myself, but I've been in the foster care program. And so I have like a different aspect of what the child goes through, our perspective, I should say. But when I was a child, it's kind of like every different home that you went to, they had a different technique to do your hair. And I do remember Nikieia mentioning earlier that you should ask the child maybe how they normally do their hair, how they like their hair done. Because for instance, I've been in a home where the parents were predominantly white, and then they didn't know how to do my hair. And so they took me to a salon and I got it straightened with chemicals, and it really messed up my hair because it was easier for them to do it once the curls were looser. And then I've been to other homes where they still didn't know what to do with it, and so they would put a lot of oil in my hair so that the curls would stay down and maybe not get so frizzy, and then my hair was way too oily. So I think it builds confidence in the child when you let them know, even though you're maybe out of your comfort zone, you still matter and you're still your own person, and we want to keep your identity to you, so that you tailor it more to what they want to look like, and they don't feel like they're the oddball out every time they go somewhere else. So that's my personal experience.
I love it.
Yes.
Thank you, Queen. I love it.
Can I say something? Can I say something?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I'm listening to Lexi. I've spoken to Lexi before, and it sounds like that, when we use the term crown, I'm really trying to, understand the symbolism of it. My father used to say, your hair is your crown. And it sounds like the more we talk about it, the more I'm coming to this realization that our crown helps, it's our identity, it's our representation, it's part of who we are, our hair. And it sounds like, Lexi, that growing up, you had your crown messed with a lot. And it was tilted or on backwards or whatever, but that crown was messed with a lot. And I'm feeling too much empathy for you and the trials and tribulations you went with, because especially I'm thinking maybe in middle school, that must have been really, well, I'm sure elementary, middle school, really, really difficult trying to get that hair right. And I remember when I was a teenager, we moved to this school where it was all white kids, just because of where it was located, upstate New York. And we were the only Black kids in the building. And I didn't dislike my hair, but I knew that I had to get it right. So it wouldn't be something that was pointed at or discussed, so I had to figure that out on my own, but I'm starting to understand this whole idea about the crown and how if it's not on there right, that can just affect everything else,
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Miss Marjorie. I really appreciate that. And so, the crown is to be honored, and there might be a little bit of experimental styles, but never, with the chemicals, and ask questions. We are open and available, the stylists that are on the panel as well. Miss Marjorie also has taught her students at one of her schools about hair and skin. So we are available. We are all part of the community, and we want to see the community rise when it comes to African Americans, children, hair and skin. Mel, were you going to say something?
So me as a stylist, I go a little bit more than just being a hairstylist. I feel like my calling is more on a teaching level. I have a bond that I try to create with my parents of the children. I call them my kids, and people will be like, you got kids? No, I have kid clients, but I call them my kids. I try to have an open communication with the parents, because I want them to feel like they can send me a text or shoot me a picture of any products that they have questions about. A lot of times I give, for example, just about an hour ago, I got a text, and one of my foster parents of my client, she said, what do you think about this shampoo? I'm looking for a different shampoo for the girls. And I'm familiar with the shampoo. It's not one of my favorites because of the ingredients. I told her why I didn't too much care for that shampoo, but not just in a no sense of don't get that. I gave my whys, so she knows kind of what to look for. And then I provided her, with the shampoo I would recommend and my reasons of why. So she'll have something to reference back to. the thing is to give education, and I try to make sure that they feel like, you know, I don't have to suppress my questions about the child's hair, even if I don't know. I can ask her. I can ask her about brushes. I can ask her about oils, shampoos, conditioners. Just thinking about Lexi's experience when she was growing up, and I'm sure kids are cruel. So I'm sure you experienced some things in middle school and elementary school. And I could think back to when I was in middle school, and I was the only Black kid in my school, and I lived way far east in the early 90s. And it was another little girl that just started coming to school, and she was mixed. And a group of girls had pulled off her ponytail, and she cried. And I don't know what was in me, but in 6th grade, I ran to that little girl and I went to the bathroom and I tried to help her put it back on. I said, "We're going to figure this out." And she said, I don't know what to do with her. She said, "I don't know what to do." And I said, "We're going to figure it out." And that's always been what I do. So I understand that. And you have to make sure as a foster parent that you listen to the kids, you ask them questions, you encourage them, empower them, and let them know that their hair is beautiful. Like, there's nothing wrong with texture hair, coily hair, curly hair. And those are terms that I try to use when I speak to the parents, because I want them to use those terms. I don't want them to use dreaded and nappy and difficult and woolly. Like, all of those terms kids hear, and it's negative. So I don't know if I over talked.
Absolutely. Thank you, Queen. I love it. That's so powerful. So powerful. Because kids are cruel, and kids can sense other children that are, in kinship or foster care for whatever reason. Kids can identify, and so that already is a barrier laid for kids to bully. And then when their appearance matches that circumstance, they're really, going to attack them, whether it be verbally or physically. And so really the child that you care for is a representation of you, and you want your child a reflection of you, the child that you're caring for. You want them to be, not only clean, but well maintained hair and skin, again, because they do reflect you.
And there's been in the youth development field professionally for 18 years and growing up in a large family, self-esteem and issues with self-esteem develop at such an early age. And you can picture a 2 or 3-year-old, they are at that age already self-conscious and conscious about certain things. You can see a 2-year-old become embarrassed and want to shy away from people simply because maybe they fell and everybody around them maybe snickered or something like that. And you can just, at a very early age, see them kind of pick up early how people respond and react to them, what people say to them, right? And so it's so critical that as early as possible, we really speak life into our children, that we really give words of positive affirmations. And that if they are coming to you because they are in foster care, they've gone through some things. They've had some major trauma in their life to even end up in foster care or kinship or whatever the situation is. They are not with the biological parents for one reason or another. And so they're already probably dealing with some self-esteem issues. And so when you have our hair and skin needs not being met, especially if you have a preteen or a teenager going through puberty, there's so many physical changes going on with the body, right? And so when those needs aren't being met, or people are talking down to you for things that are truly out of your control. You cannot control the way the hair grows out of your scalp. You cannot just say, oh, I no longer want to have this brown or black skin, I'm going to get rid of it. It is a part of who you are. And so it is so critical that we, when our children are in our care and in our environments, that we really just pour life into them, because you may be the first person who's done that for them, and that can really make the difference on a path that they move forward to as they continue. Because even if they're only placed with you for a little while as a foster parent, you can be that foster parent that really makes all the difference for them, right? Because you see the foster kids, they don't have suitcases, their stuff gets thrown in the trash bag and it's on to the next, right? And so and I'll speak with this Desiree's program with IMU 360. We have the Hygiene Empowerment Bag Program. And I have been blessed to be able to serve young people through this program. And Desiree has stories for days about this, but to see a 15 or 16-year-old receive hygiene products that is truly customized according to their ethnicity, their gender, however they identify, the feeling, you can just see the happiness in their eyes from that moment. And that we often are hearing the comments of, this is the first time I've ever received something like this. Could you imagine going 15, 16 years in life and not ever having your own hygiene products, and always having to share with somebody else, or always getting the same non-scented basic stuff? Like, that impacts your self-esteem. And then we want kids to go to school and achieve academically. They won't achieve academically if on the outer they aren't right, because that's definitely going to affect the inner.
So this is a great segue. We're approaching the kind of the general Q&A time to maybe circle back around to Jenna's original question. Are there products that the panelists recommend that are specifically for those who identify as female, those who identify as male? Are there specific products or lines? And I see that Dianna listed some specific suggested product lines.
I would not say that they are for male or female. Usually all of the products is for a hair type, unless it's, a young man and he's maybe trying to get waves or something. But even with that, I mean, all of the products are kind of unisex. It just depends on what you're trying to do with the hair. So I guess to answer the question, it's not a particular line for men or women, but there are some hairlines that are designed for men, and there are some that are just for women. But in general, you can use them for either or. Especially with the ones that I listed.
It goes down to like the texture of the hair, because it's just like Dianna said, it's not gender. Design Essentials is for anyone can use it. It's based on texture. They have many different products where maybe a tighter curl needs more moisture than a looser curl, wouldn't need as heavy as products. So it's pretty much the need of the hair. You have to know what the hair needs. And sometimes you have to use more than one product to find out what exactly the hair needs. You have to get a good feel of the hair. Does the hair feel dry? Does it feel like, almost kind of like it wants to break? It's lacking something. It's lacking moisture, hydration. You have to play with a couple of different products. I always tell people, read ingredients. Some things we can't pronounce. A lot of moisturizers shouldn't have over like 10, 15 ingredients. Put it down. That's what I
And I
always
wanted
say.
to say that too, Mel. You're right, Mel. And please, I'm so grateful you said the ingredients, because I got excited about that. If it says alcohol is the first ingredients or second, whatever the first mention in the ingredients is what the majority of that product is. So if it says alcohol in the very beginning, that means the majority of that product is alcohol based. So we want to definitely refrain from 1, 2, and 3, the strongest products or ingredient in that product. So we want to look for words like Aragon or glycerin,
coconut
yes,
oil,
Tree.
yes, yes. Let's keep going. Huh?
Peppermint. I
Yes,
love
those are the
peppermint. Peppermint.
ingredients
I
we
use
want to look
peppermint
for.
and tea
Yes,
tree oil for my hair
yes.
because I've learned that I have a drier scalp, and Desiree does my hair. So I ask her about hair stuff all the time, but I don't really venture that far. But Jen, I'll also comment. I'm not a stylist at all, and that is why I'm like I just do what I know. I would recommend even doing a hair journal if you're trying various products, because if you're trying 2 or 3 different things and you're not sure, like write out, I tried this, shampoo and conditioner. This is how my hair felt, after I used this product, so that you get an understanding really of what works best for the hair. Because, and then it may even take some time of, maybe not only using it one time, you may have to try like 2 or 3 times before your hair potentially can adjust. And of course, the stylists on the line are the experts, but I would definitely recommend a hair journal if you're experimenting with various hair products, so that you know what works and what doesn't work. Because I don't like to shampoo my hair, wash it, none of that. I want to go and have somebody do it for me because that's not my area. But I've learned that my hair can get really dry after about 2.5 weeks, and it's going to need to be washed thoroughly, and I'm going to need it to get a lot of moisturizer in it. But once it's in there, it'll last me 2 to 3 weeks if it's properly moisturized.
So
Absolutely.
if I may, I'm sorry, Desiree. To those that may be watching on Facebook, if you have any questions, I invite you to write them in the comments. I would suggest that you go to the event page, Rooted Crowns and Conversation, and you could type your question there, or you could go to my Facebook page, which is also public, Kathleen Dreier, and I will look at the comments in both sections and see if there are any questions. And there are a few questions right now. Marjorie opened up a question. Can you speak to shampooing and how overdoing it with certain products are not helpful? I think that there is a way to determine porosity, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, as well.
Porous hair. And so learning your hair type and hair texture would be really crucial to knowing what kind of products to use. But our hair is not created to wash very often. And so when I say that, we can switch it off by shampooing or even co-washing. Co-washing, especially with the summer months, you dampen the hair as if you're going to shampoo, run conditioner through it. You could even let it sit while you're doing something else or having lunch, whatever it may be, and then rinsing. That adds the moisture back to the hair, as Nikieia was saying, when you have a dry scalp or really porous hair, because that comes like as a layer of moisture and protecting it from the sun. But more importantly, it also helps become the hair more manageable when it comes to combing and styling. But we do not recommend washing the hair daily. Let me repeat, we recommend that you do not wash the hair daily. We say for no more than once a week, and determining on if the hair has a lot of buildup, once every 2 weeks.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I have 6 siblings, and we all have different textured hair. So I think it's really important, especially if you're an adoptive parent or foster parent, to understand this about African-American hair. It's all different. I don't use the same products as my brothers. I have 5 brothers. I don't use the same products as my sister. I use what works for me, and it's been trial and error for years. But I will say something, because I have natural, I like my hair natural. And I'm so glad I finally found Desiree, because finally I'm going to someone who doesn't necessarily want to straighten my hair. I'm a curly, I have a curly hair face, and I want my hair. But I have to tell you, I learned, and it took me a while to learn this, not to ever put a brush or a comb through my hair after it's washed, because it separates each strand. I mean, if I want frizzy hair, I'll do it, but it will separate each strand and make it frizzy. So if I want my hair to look the way that I prefer it, I'll separate it with conditioner in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
That works for me, for my natural hair. But if I want a frizzy look, I'll put a comb through it, but I don't necessarily want the look.
I want to touch on what she spoke about. I knew that's where you were going with that, and I think a lot of the stylists on the panel can agree. It is so much better to work with your hands than a tool. Combs, we talk about tools when we have your hair is your crown. For the foster parents and kinship parents, we talk about the detangling process. And there's 2 phases of detangling: before you wash and then after you wash. Sometimes there's 3. It just depends on how the hair reverts back to as it dries. But I work so much better with my hands as a stylist versus when I go to a comb. All I need is my clips to separate the hair. But you can get a better feel of the hair and what it needs. And if you need to apply more conditioner, or if you need to be more gentle.
Mhm.
A lot of people say, oh, she's heavy-handed and I'm tender-headed. In actuality, you may not be tender-headed. They just don't know how to detangle the hair without having such force from using a comb too soon. You know, I feel like you can detangle and you can separate your hair. You can just about style your hair with your hands. I navigate better with detangling my kids' hair with my hands. Once I can get through it with my hands, then we can go over to comb and, you know, detangling conditioners and sprays and such. But that would be my advice for also the foster parents when you're working with the kids' hair and getting it detangled. Is start with your hands and start in small sections and just be patient. But if you take that time, you'll get a better feel. You'll connect more. Again, talking about bonding. They'll remember sitting there with you and, oh, she ran her hands through my hand and it didn't feel, it didn't hurt. Instead of raking a comb, because when you rake that comb, I say it just like the rake, because that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And you should never have to go straight to a comb. Use your hand.
Mel, quick question. If folks are using a comb, because let's just say they're not comfortable with using the hands because maybe they haven't built that trust relationship yet, what are recommended types of combs, particularly for detangling? I know when I wrap my hair at night, I use a wide tooth comb because that's what works best for my hair.
Yes, I have 3 main go-to combs, and the first one is the wide tooth comb. You know, there's a medium wide tooth comb where it's kind of wider spaces in between the comb on one end, and then the spaces get a little bit more smaller on the other end. And that's a comb that you want to use starting, you always want to start from the ends and then work your way up. Never start from the root of the hair and go down, because that's where you're going to create breakage, and the hair, you're going to hear it, and you're damaging the hair in itself. The hair is literally You're just gonna have so many breakage and split ends. So work your way from ends and go up with maybe a medium comb, medium wide tooth comb to a full wide tooth comb. A lot of the wide tooth combs, if you're unfamiliar with them, they'll be over there in the soap and shampoo area where they sell like the shampoo caps.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Walmart, they say ethnic hair. Ethnic hair, that's the label at Walmart. It's in the ethnic hair care aisle.
I didn't know they actually put that sign up now.
I haven't had to buy one in a while, but the last couple times I bought one, it says like ethnic hair.
Okay, come on. That's good. That's awesome. But it's over there. It's a wide tooth comb. And then again, if you don't know it when you see it, Google is my best friend. Amazon is my best friend.
Yes.
Type it in.
And add to that list, Mel, a demi brush. A demi brush will help enhance a child's natural curls. And using that, you will see that the hair, you will introduce yourself to their hair type by investing in a demi brush or demi brush. Sally's has them as well. You could order it, like Mel said, online, Google it, so you could actually see what the benefits of a demi brush.
Yeah, there's so many tools out now for curls. It's unbelievable. They have some of the best detangling brushes. Yep. I have ordered them off Amazon, and they cut down the detangling process time so much for me. I appreciate whoever designed those brushes and combs. They go this way and that way. It brushes your hair 6 times at once, but it helps detangle and, you know, restore the curls. You'll see the curls spring up. I know
spring back.
Ashley gave me some tools and I used them. I don't know what those things are called.
Coil brushes.
But you just put them on your finger. It looks like an old school like thimble that they used to use when they would sew, so they wouldn't poke their finger. And it's mesh, and you take it like that, and the curl, it just springs through. I was fascinated by it. I had to make a little video. If you want to see it, go on my Facebook, it's on there. And I was just like, oh, this is nice. But
Black-owned business, coilbrush.com.
But
hey, I'll put it in the chat.
I love it. I love it. And you know, I don't want to say what Mel was saying. Do not be afraid to use small partings, because that is how you will really become engaged and get to know the hair type. You know, take your time. Patience is really going to be a virtue, especially when you're in the learning stages. But the small partings, your child that you're caring for will thank you. Your child will really be grateful. And it'll be a great memory and a great experience. They will, you know, really respond to that. And so hair time won't be a traumatizing time. Actually, they'll be looking forward to it. Set them up with greatness, with a snack, maybe something that's engaging on TV that you could actually talk while you're doing their hair. Really have everything, all your needs there. And don't be afraid to give your child a break in between. Especially if they're fidgeting a lot. That's why that time management is so important. Let them use the restroom, kind of shake it off, and let's get it on, you know, back to, you know, the ending, which the end goal, you know, everybody, when they're getting their hair done, they can't wait till it's over. But then they'll feel so good, right? Yes. And so to see your child smile is the biggest reward, and them feeling good about their hair. And it does affect their behavior. It affects, you know, school attendance for the older kiddos, academically. I hear you. They will. It really does affect their whole being. Yes. And it's amazing how powerful the hair is. So, you know, knowledge is power. And so you can't waver from that. So just really step up to the plate and, let's get to batting when it comes to being engaged with your child's hair.
Yes.
Beautiful. We have just a few minutes left. Are there any other questions or comments from anyone?
I would like to comment not to encourage the foster parents to not quit. Don't quit. Whatever it takes, don't cut their hair off. If you can't find somebody or somebody gives you attitude, go to the next person. Yes. I hate for you to have to resort to YouTube, but there are some videos that'll teach you simple hairstyles, and make sure that the baby hangs out with babies that look like them. And then that'll kind of be a gateway into what those parents are doing for that baby's hair,
Excellent. Ask questions, take notes.
Yeah,
absolutely. I love that.
And I would like to add, just as a foster parent, as a DCS employee, remember, you cannot cut your foster child's hair without the parent's permission.
Wow.
That is very important. So even if you are frustrated, you have to work through it, because you cannot go ahead and cut a child's hair without a parent permission. So just keep that in mind.
And Kathryn, could I ask you a question? We've heard stories in the past about a comb or a brush could be used as a weapon when you raise that comb up as the child is fidgeting and not keeping still, how that can affect the child.
Very much so. I've seen pictures of using it as that weapon. Bruises, and you can clearly see it used as a tool to punish. You can clearly see it's a brush or a comb. So it is definitely, and even with my own daughter, it was quite a battle to comb her hair. She was very young when I got her. But it was a battle. So there were some memories there that I won't know about. So if there's the child crying because they see a brush, that's bringing back a memory, and that's a trauma. So you might have to adjust. Find another tool. Like they said, use your fingers. Many a time I've done that. A little bit of a challenge for me, but I do it. So yeah, that can be a source of trepidation and fear for kids.
Oh, sorry, Kathryn.
Go ahead, Lexi. I'll refer to something when you're done, please.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to mention really fast that when I was younger, I mentioned that I was in foster care, and even when I was living with my biological mother, she would always instill in me that I was very beautiful and that I should feel honored that I'm unique enough to have hair that's very nice. And even though she would continuously pour that into me, I would still go to school and I wouldn't even really be able to focus, just because I didn't look like the other children there and they would make fun of me. So even if you're pouring into your foster care child at home and they don't have anyone around them that looks similar to them, or they don't, hear the history on how beautiful their hair is, they can just go to school and their whole confidence be ruined, even if at home you're doing everything that you can. So I would say you would want to make sure that those bonding times to do hair, you're instilling confidence in your child as well too, because even when they leave the home, you don't know what they're going to face. So you just want to give them, positive words of affirmation, so that when they do go out there and face harsh criticism, that they have enough confidence instilled in them at home, that, they're ready for that and they still feel beautiful regardless.
Lexi, your statement is so, and sharing is so important. It ties right in with a comment that Dahlia has written in the chat. And Dahlia, I wanted to invite you, if you'd like to make your statement, you can unmute yourself, or I can read it if you have a preference.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay, yeah, please share your comment. I think it's really important and ties into what Lexi was saying.
Yeah, so I'm a mom of 3, and I am a Mexican woman, so it's been a really big journey for us. They all have different hairstyles, and their hair is so different. But we've had 2 experiences with my 2 younger ones where they were bullied at school, and indirectly by the teachers as well, by the comments that they said to them. It got to the point where they didn't want to wear their hair in like ponytails because they had little poofy puffs for ponytails. And so it's been a really big journey for us. It's affected their self-esteem in a very hard way as a parent to watch. I have to continuously educate myself, I think, mostly, so I'm able to educate teachers and whoever they have in their lives, and give them ways to respond to kids telling them that they have fake hair or they have a wig on, things like that. There's a lot of things I don't know that I do wrong. So yeah, I shared that, and I wanted to say thank you, because this is very helpful to me in a personal level.
I would like to respond to what Dahlia shared with us. I'm a retired teacher, Dahlia, and I have to tell you, one of the ways that any parent, foster parent, whoever, can empower their kids and their family is through really positive children's literature that has representation, that has narratives, that talks about character building in the characters, that in the end addresses the self-esteem of the child that you're reading to. There's lots of really good literature out there. I have to tell you, I'm really disgusted to learn that there are some teachers that have been disparaging your children. Of all the people on the planet, they're the last ones that should be doing that. I feel enraged on the inside. If I was in that situation, I would be so on your children's side, and I would be so in the face of those teachers, because there's no excuse for that. But I would certainly, support my family and my children with children's literature. It'd make a profound difference.
Yes, and Dahlia, we're in a time where there are so many books. I'm 32, and I didn't have that books like this available to me as a little girl, but there are books not only by Black authors, but about Black children. There's the short anime story I believe it's called Hair Love, which is makes me tear up and cry, and it's such an amazing story. But there are so many books out that have a representation of young Black children where they can see it and see themselves. We've been talking about Amazon. It's Prime Day, so today's probably a great day to go online and try to order a couple, or even check out your local library, because they will likely have some within their shelves as well. And if they don't have them on their shelves, you probably can request for them to do like an interlibrary system and get them. But along with empowering your children and standing up to educators who are supposed to be there to support them, I 100% second Ms. Marjorie's motion of reading to them and having them see characters that look like them, because a book, I'm an avid reader, a book is something that they can take with them, keep with them. They can see that character and be like, that looks like me. And that is an experience that when you experience it with them, you will see the impact that it's going to make on them immediately.
It will transform. It's direct impact.
Yes.
My Hair is My Garden. Miss Marjorie actually introduced that book to me. Very powerful. We use that in our hair care class. Dee and Mel could attest to that. Truly a good book, even for younger children and middle schoolers as well, could relate to that book. So take advantage of the vast knowledge that books do offer, because children of color that do need to see themselves within the community, whether it be a book or what have you, but and then allowing them to ask questions to other kids too, like how, or parents, how are you navigating through this? And that's how we build a stronger community.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I think books have been actually our biggest resource right now. I started picking up a lot of books actually and reading it with both of them. And, we did watch the videos that especially that are coming out. I've noticed recently there's been a lot more, which has been really helpful for them. The book Don't Touch My Hair, I think that's what it's called. That one helped a lot. It gave my daughter a sense of, drawing her boundary, because they don't, unfortunately, that's something we have to teach other people, not just children, but adults. So I mean, I might sound like a broken record, but I share it with whoever I can, because just as I wasn't educated, I don't expect a lot of people to be educated in this stuff, and it is a big deal. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so
We
much.
celebrate you. We celebrate you,
Yes.
Queen. Thank you for all that you do. And you're a true hero. So thank you so much, Queen Dahlia. We really, really appreciate hearing your voice.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I know we've gone a little bit long, and so I thank everyone that is here with us, both on Zoom and on Facebook Live. And I'm wondering if there are any last comments. Maybe each panelist would like to end with a statement, an inspiration, a consideration, to close out the evening. We've had a beautiful evening together. I thank each and every one of you, both all the panelists and all of the guests, both here and on Facebook. And I will make the recording available to everyone. And I have learned so much. I am extraordinarily grateful to be in your presence and to learn from you. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank
Kathleen,
you so much, Queen
Thank
Kathleen.
you so much.
So
I
much.
would
We
just
appreciate
say
you.
to folks, use it takes a village. Utilize your village. And at some point in time, everyone tonight spoke about, if you don't know, ask questions. There's some amazing stylists on the line who I personally know will be more than happy to answer any questions. Ashley, if you have questions about history and culture, Ashley is going to be your expert to go to on that topic. And never apologize for empowering the life of a young person, because you may very well be the only person in their life doing so at that time.
Right. And I just want to say too, yes, be unapologetic, and also share whatever knowledge is power. Please share within, family, friends, co-workers that may have questions, and keep that an open dialogue. Let's keep these conversations going. It can't stop right here after this event. Ask, questions, never be fearful of that, but then keep your head up as well. And honor your own crown as you're trying to empower the child that you're caring for to honor theirs. So they watch you. And so we want to make sure that you're looking and feeling your best as well. And they can actually be able to mirror that same experience. So watch how you talk and walk and all that good stuff. And I guarantee you it will last a lifetime.
I hope that we are able to do this again and continue to do this. She's why I do what I do. this little girl, I can't tell you, and I'm gonna start crying. But she's why I do what I do. And I spend a lot of time on her hair, way more time on her hair than I do mine. But it's a battle, and I love doing it. So I hope we get to continue this, and thank you all for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
I'd like to say that image, unfortunately, is everything. We are social, visual beings. So people treat you how you look, and you treat yourself how you look. And how you look is also connected to your self-esteem. And self-esteem is the foundation of the success that many of us want in life. Because if we can't see ourselves doing it, we can't see ourselves looking great and being great, then we oftentimes are not going to make it there. And so I think it's really, really important that just by way of helping our children learn different ways of making their image their best image for them, we're actually sowing into their future, and we breaking generational curses, because these babies, this ain't gonna happen to their babies and their babies and their babies and their babies. So this is so much bigger than just this generation. And I'm really, really honored to be a part of it. And I can't wait to see what we do next.
Yes. Yes.
That's beautiful. I just like to add to what Dianna said. If you look good, you feel good. And I think along with words of positive affirmation, I think we should show maybe pictures. Like it was mentioned earlier, to read books and things like that, so that they can see a visual representation and say, like, you look beautiful, and so does this person. And even if you're not exposed to this on a daily basis, this is still considered beautiful. And if there's not many people maybe around that child, whether it be their parents or at their school, that look like them, those like books or magazines, visual affirmations can really help the child realize that, you know, they're unique, and someone out there also is going through what they're going through, and that Black is beautiful, or whatever their race is, and that their hair is just a reflection of
So if I may, Kate and Ashley, I think this would be a great opportunity to speak about Black's Friday. Kate says, thank you so much for doing this. If there are any resources for connecting with kids, with other Black children, activities, classes, schools, etc., that you could share, that would be so helpful.
Yes, well, firstly, thank you again for the opportunity to be here this evening. I'd love to do a shameless plug for blacksfriday.com. We spotlight local Black owners and professionals, and a number of the Black-owned businesses here with us tonight can be found on blacksfriday.com. So just to the point of the work that IMU360 is doing with those who are experiencing homelessness, or aging out of foster care, she'll definitely be able to give you that information and help you. I see Braider's Corner on here as well. A huge shout out to Mel, who styled my hair. So again, shameless plug, all of the sisters with us here on this panel that have Black-owned businesses. You can find them on blacksfriday.com. Also looking at products online, looking for Black-owned products online that can really help guide you on what's cutting edge in hair care. Again, thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Beautiful. I am just very quickly trying to type in people's websites to look. And if all the panelists, if you would please put your websites in the chat, that would be a wonderful resource for everyone. I will leave everything up for just a few moments so people can have an opportunity to screenshot your resources and your websites.
And can we just have Nell also give her impact statement? But I also want to invite Miss Marjorie to give her, my queen, Miss Marjorie, an impact statement as well. Give us the takeaway, you two queens.
For myself, my takeaway would be for half is going to go to stylists out there. Stylists, these foster parents, if they approach you with questions, welcome them in a receiving way. Any knowledge that you have, feel free to pour into someone else, because it's not just we're pouring into adults, we're pouring knowledge into the kids. And that's the biggest thing for me. That's what's most important for me, is for these kids to, sometimes I'm their only experience or their only contact with someone who looks like them or looks close to, similar to like them. So I want to make that a good experience for them. So I talk to the kids. I ask them, you know, what do you like about your hair and how do you want your hair? Kids have choices. I mean, we didn't always feel like it when we were kids, but kids have choices. And I give my babies choices. If they want to swoop, we gonna swoop it today. And if they want to side part, we gonna side part it today. That's their world today, because I want them to feel happy. I want them to enjoy their time, feel loved, feel beautiful, feel empowered. All of that sets the tone and foundation for the women that they grow into. And we want to establish that in them at a young age. And just do your part. Do your part. That's all it is. It's about being a servant and doing your part. He gives you gifts and you share those gifts. We're not to hold our gifts for ourselves and be like, these are my gifts. So we got to share those gifts and pour into everyone else. And as far as to the foster parents, if there's a question or you need resources, it's no shame in asking. Pride gets in our way of things so many times. Don't worry about feeling any kind of way, because as a Black woman, I still don't have all the answers to my own hair. I have bought conditioner and I said, this ain't for me. This conditioner ain't did nothing for this hair at all. It smelled good. It looked good. Gabrielle Union said it worked, but it didn't work for my hair. Taraji said it was everything for her hair, but it didn't work for me. So I'm still learning too. So don't feel no kind of way about testing products, about asking questions. So many resources. I have seen the bond between foster parents linking up with other foster parents who have both adopted biracial children. And they just like, what do you use? Well, what do you use? What combs have you bought? What combs have you tried? We're a tribe. It literally takes a village. And I want to be helped with that village. That's it. So ask questions, feel free, use your resources, Google, Instagram, Facebook, whoever you have to go to, ask a friend. And we're here. That's it. That's all. We're here. And that's my take. Thank you for inviting me to it. I have fun.
Yay. Miss Marjorie, you gonna say something for us real quick?
Yes, I met Desiree when I was a teacher. I'm retired now, but she came to visit my classroom my very last year teaching. I had a very diverse group of children, several African kids, and Desiree, I'll never forget it. After you taught those kids about their hair, the next day, this little second grade kid came up to me and he goes, "My hair feels so good." That's the ticket, you know. It was such a simple fix. All hair is good hair. You just need to love that. You just need to love your hair, love your skin. Yeah. You know, there's no standard of beauty. It's just the one you set for yourself.
Thank you so much.
And I think children are just naturally beautiful beings, and it's so easy to raise their self-esteem. It's just so easy. And you know, I have to tell you, in my earlier years, if I saw a white couple with black kids and their hair was all over the place, I had no respect for that. And I'm ashamed to say that. And I learned from Desiree that people need help. I mean, it took me a long time to figure out what to do with my hair. It's a learning curve, short or long, depends, you know, but the fun is the learning. And, you know, I think people should just be open and honest with one another and just believe that whatever texture hair you have is gorgeous hair.
Right.
But I thank Desiree for what she does, and reminding, you know, our youth that they're kings and they're queens. And, you know, I do a lot of reading, nonfiction reading on Africa and the African slave trade. And, you know, there are lots of different tribes, but we are one tribe, you know, and we have a lot to offer one another. A lot of tradition around our beauty, and we should embrace that. That's all I have to say to that.
So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to close out our recording and the live feed, but those who are here on Zoom, boy, we can stay here all night if everyone wants to. I'm A-okay with that. But I also want to let all of you know that there are expressions of gratitude on Facebook for the conversation. People have found it very engaging and educational, and they have asked for your links, so I've shared your links on Facebook also. So with that, I'm going to close out the live feed and just want to thank everybody for attending, and I will make a recording available for people to share. So good night to everyone.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.